The steering wheel in my 1974 1303 Beetle should not do that. It shouldn't have that much play in it. So let's investigate, see why it does, and fix it. One of the consequences of it actually doing that is that the horn beeps when you flash the lights, and which is not ideal, and also sometimes you'll be steering and it will flash the lights. So yeah, it's because it's interfering with the actual operation of the flasher. So that's one of the reasons we need to do it, and also I want to make sure it's actually safe. Oddly enough, the fix for this problem, I believe, will actually start underneath the bonnet by taking the fuel tank out. Not the nicest job in the world to have to do, but it has to be done, simply because of the fact that the steering shaft UJs are actually underneath the fuel tank, and that, I believe, is where the problem actually lies. So let's get that fuel tank out. Everywhere I look in this car, I find new problems to contend with, not the least of which is brake fluid all under here. That's the brake servo here. It's a remote brake servo. Where's the brake fluid coming from? Now, the other thing as well I'm just thinking is the fact that is this pipe going to be in the way of actually getting the bloody fuel tank out now? So do I have to remove the whole Jesus brake servo in order to get the fuel tank out? Oh, right, okay, well, there's nothing for it than to just get stuck in and do it. I'll see what needs to be done as I go. I'll just kind of tentatively proceed. In theory, removing a fuel tank from a 1303 Beetle is not the biggest job in the world, but I mean, in reality, it should be just 4 bolts and a couple of pipes and stuff like that, and then don't forget your electrical connector for the fuel level sender as well. I'm just getting the 4 bolts mounted out of the way first, and at least that way we can kind of jockey it around and see what we're actually dealing with. That's not even the washer for holding down the fuel tank. That's a washer for the body mount. It had a full set of washers in it at one stage. Next, I'm going to take off the rubber coupling here to allow me to lift this up, and then we'll see how we're looking from there. All right, so now we should be able to just slide this coupling up along the filler. You'll have to pull the filler out a little bit, actually, I'm thinking as well. Well, we might not. Let's see. It's just oh yeah, I have to take this out as well. This is now this is a modification of my own, so I can't. I don't have anybody to blame there. There is a strong smell of petrol in here, though. That's the one thing I am noticing. So that will have to be addressed. Actually, there's quite an overwhelming smell of petrol in here. Kind of starting to think actually I should be using the hand tools rather than the electric tools. This is a Ford Granada blower fan which delivers fresh cold air to the vents in the car instead of having to rely on just feeding it with feeding it as you're driving. It's good for demisting in actual fact, but it's also, if you're stuck in traffic and on a warm day, it's also very good from that perspective. Now we should be able to get the fuel tank out. I'm hoping we will. For fuck's sake. Like, I'm honestly thinking I'm going to have to try and reroute this particular pipe here, because this was put in after the fuel tank, and unfortunately it's going to give me a headache. So what else can I do, really? I mean, like, other than taking the whole Jesus servo out of it, and I don't really want to have to do that. Look, they're copper pipes. Let's just try and be very gingery, go very gingerly here, and see how we get on, and if we can shift them over a bit. And if we can, then well and good. Okay, I bent it a little bit, and I think I may have made just enough clearance to actually get that out. So if we maybe shift the tank over to the left a little bit, we might just do it. So yeah, let's see how we go. Just gonna get that breather out of the way, so that at least I can get access unimpeded by this. Now, what in the name of Zeus's thundering butthole are we looking at here now? What the hell even is... Scuttle drain, that's alright. At least... God, I had visions of it being something much more sinister. I need to get something in there to wedge that up. This should not be this difficult. I've got the handbrake on the car. It starts rolling away from me. I better put that on. That's something on the car that works as the bloody handbrake. Anyway, at least that's something. Needs to go over towards the other side of the car. We're nearly clear of that brake line. Ah, there you go. All right, now. Right, now progress is being made. Come on, baby, light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire. Probably a bad song to be singing when you're taking a fuel tank out of a car. And yes, I know I'm scratching the boot to bits, but in the words of a poet, fuck it. Oh, you fucker. Oh, it's all ended up in a disaster. Okay, way more petrol in that than I thought there was. Alright. Now, I'm going to leave it like that. And there's not going to be any more power tools used around here for another while. And I'm going to see if I can get at the UJ from in here. And that exactly is where our play is, folks. Alright, so that's, at least that's, we're in the right position anyway. Okay, so looking at the steering column here, you can see there the amount of play. But it still exists down this far as well. So whatever play is actually, it's not even at the, it seems to be onto the steering box. So what I need to do is I need to get under the car and I need to actually have a look down there. You guys can actually see better than me, but that is not moving. Like, I can't get my head in there, but I can get the camera in there. So that's so down there there's a pinch bolt that connects the lower steering column, which is this lad here, onto the steering gearbox. So I had looked into converting this car to rack and pinion, but actually they have a different frame head and it's just not worth the hassle, to be honest with you, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, anyway, right, let's get the car up onto a jack and slither in underneath it and see what we can do about that, because that's the top of the steering gearbox there. Okay, so I went underneath the car anyway, and straight away I can see what the problem is, and I actually genuinely cannot believe this. There's no pinch bolt in the UJ onto the steering box. Now, I didn't install that, okay? I actually paid somebody to install that and to do that work for me. So to say that I'm a little bit pissed that I actually had my wife and children in this car and that was the level of standard that was actually done to it, bloody hell. I mean, I'm absolutely appalled. So that basically means I have to go through everything else on the car as well. I mean, I literally don't know where I stand with this. It's dangerous. Like that there, essentially that means that the only thing that was actually stopping the steering from slipping or something like that when you were driving was basically the splines inside that. I mean, that's not good enough. Like, they're supposed to be a pinch bolt. It actually beggars belief, and I am so annoyed. I really am so annoyed. But anyway, look, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to put it right. And in other news, you want to see where the fuel filter is. Now there's the fuel filter up there, right beside the that's the brake master cylinder you're looking at there. Now that would be absolutely fine if it weren't for the fact that the input pipe to it is actually bent. I mean, Jesus Christ, like, Wonder, is that where the fuel smell is coming from? It's just one thing after another, it really is. Up there is where the UJ is. It's supposed to be a pinch bolt going through there. Right. So it's actually, the play in the steering is actually the steering slipping off, the steering UJ slipping off the steering box. That's a crash waiting to happen. That took a bit of a battle, I'm going to be honest with you, because the slot basically in the splines wasn't exactly lined up, but I got the bolt in anyway. But now there's this, the full beams are on because the switch is being pulled, so we need to address that next. Okay, so the fact that the full beams are flashing when I move the steering wheel like that would be another question mark, but I'm genuinely gobsmacked though. I really cannot believe that. Like, I mean, I knew there was obviously an issue, like there shouldn't have been play in the steering like that, but bloody hell, the fact that the pinch bolt was missing from the UJ, not on, really not on. Like, so anyway, look, at least it's fixed now, so that's a big safety tick, which should never have been missing. So now let's see, how are we? The fact that the oil light is glowing very slightly there is... Alright, so when I turn the steering wheel like that, what relay is it that's actually clicking? And when I turn it, the oil light goes out ever so slightly. So there's something grounding through the column there that should not be grounding through the column. Okay, so the fuel tank is now back in, and it wasn't as much of a faff to get back in as it was to take out. I nipped up a couple of Jubilee clips and stuff like that as well that were a little on the loose side of things. So hopefully that will sort out the fuel smell in there. And actually, by the time I put the fuel tank back in and fed the fuel line back down, the fuel filter was sitting a little bit better, so I'm fairly all right with that, to be honest with you. But yeah, let's have at this situation here now with the steering wheel. So straight away, after taking that off, whatever the relay is that's clicking has gone away, and so this piece here runs on a copper ring on the back of the steering wheel, and or brass maybe in that case, and basically that is supplying the power from the horn, and it comes through the steering wheel to that copper ring, and then there's a spade terminal that goes in to the horn button, and when you press the horn button you're actually grounding this to this, so that's basically how you're getting your harden. So that's that. Now the flasher is over here, so that is you can see. Right, if you actually press there, causes the headlights to flash. But now, what the other clicking is, I have yet to figure out. I'm wondering, is there something here grounding out that should not be grounding out? Well, in actual fact, I would say that is most likely what it is. So I'll try and figure it out and I'll come back to you. Okay, after a bit of investigating, I've discovered what the issue is. The horn ring on the back of the steering wheel is grounding out there on this little rivet, and then grounding out here as well. So it's rubbing on this and rubbing on this, and it's only momentarily touching this lad here. Okay, so it really is a tiny bit, and the problem is when I pull the flasher forward, it's pulling this forward enough to touch the back of the horn ring and to ground this out as well, which is the reason why it beeps the horn when you flash. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to try and just give that a very light tap with a hammer, and then I'm going to put some tape over this, because I think there actually should have been something over this originally. It just strikes me as a bit strange that there are exposed contacts like that behind the steering wheel that shouldn't actually be exposed. So that I think is a fix to the problem. Alright, so mission was a success. So I've no play in the steering anymore, other than what you would expect for a 45, nearly 50-year-old car, in fairness. And The lights have stopped flashing, and yet I still have the flashers. Now, the only other thing I need to find out is if the horn still works. So I'm going to just actually put the horn button on, because if it does work, then happy days. I just want to send a couple of Ugga Duggas on the steering wheel nut. Okay, so as you can see, everything is back together here. Steering wheel is on and feeling good. I have to say now the steering actually does feel a hell of a lot better, which somewhat worrying, to be honest with you, it would, but there you go. So yeah, anyway, last thing to check is the horn works. Now look at it, it kind of squawks because the horn itself doesn't really work very well, but the button works and headlight flashers work. Let's see now, full beams work. Yep, we're good to go. Happy days. Right, okay, I'm going to leave it there at this video, to be honest with you. I think I've done enough, and there will be a few more things to be done. One of the things I'm actually doing, and the reason I wanted to get this car to this point, is because I'm bringing it up to a bodywork specialist in Navan, my old haunt, and I'm going to get him to have a look at it and see what's involved in actually putting it right, because to be honest with you, I just can't live with it the way it is anymore. It's just like, if you think about it, that bolt that's actually supposed to be holding on the steering UJ, if that's missing, like, how unsafe is the rest of it, like, you know what I mean? So we need to check it all out and see how we're looking. So I'll bring it up to him, let him assess it, get a quote, see if I can afford to do it at this point in time or not, and if I can, I'm just going to go ahead and just get it done, and then I can kind of worry about the other stuff. The engine needs a little bit of tuning and a couple of little bits and pieces, and there's a few other little modifications I want to do with it. But yeah, this, to be honest with you, is actually a big deal. I mean, there's another two things ticked off my list: the play in the steering and the beeping when you flash the headlights. So anyway, look, thanks a lot for joining me, and there's going to be plenty of stuff happening around Enfloat HQ here over the next while, so please do join me along the way. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button before you go, and I will see you in a future video.